Yo, 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 what it is, what it was, what's it gonna be?
Welcome.
Welcome to the latest episode of the Gen Expertise Podcast, episode 22, Maine's Frame of Technology. See what I
Welcome,
did
welcome.
there? See
I
what I
see what
did
you
there,
did
yo?
there.
See what I did
Main's
there?
frame. I see the play on the main there.
Yes,
Mainframe.
sir. We are your
Gotcha.
hosts, Maine and Rants, and we'd like to officially welcome you to the Main Tricks. Double down on it. Double down on the puns, B.
The Matrix. All right.
What's happening, Captain?
What's up, man? I'm good, man. How you feeling?
I mean, we here, man. Life is good for the most
Yeah,
part. You know what I'm saying?
yeah. Yeah, definitely.
Happy New Year again for everybody
Absolutely.
out
Happy
there.
New
The
Year to
second
everybody.
episode of 2020. So, I know you guys are wondering, what's up with the main frame of technology? Well, since you know my man is the brains of this operation and our certified Gen Expertise is certified technician slash security slash IT slash computer specialist
Slash.
slash, you know what I mean? It's all about Maine today. We've got a lot of origin stories about my brother here. We know why he hates Halloween. We know
Yes, indeed.
why he loves Christmas. We also know why he has a shoe problem. But the one thing that we don't know is why he got into technology and why does this man do what he does. So we're going to delve into it. My man, my brother, and technology as a whole. Got a few questions for you. Because it's only right.
Okay.
You know what I mean? We're going to work on our interview chops again. You know what I'm saying?
All right. I hope I can answer. If I can't answer, I'll just say pass. Next question,
Yeah,
please.
just pass next question. Just say Alt Delete.
Yeah, we'll just pass.
Just say Alt Delete. So, my brother, we'll get right into
Okay.
it. Why technology and how did you get your start?
Honestly, man, really honest. Like I didn't intend to get into technology when I went to school for legal studies. Like at least my degree is in legal studies, right? Like so, what I had planned to do was go to school and in the best case scenario, I thought I was going to go to law school. And to be honest with you, I kind of started to get burned out toward the end of school. And I didn't do as well in school as I had hoped. And I was just really burned out and just frankly just tired of school. By the time I had gotten out of college, I was just tired of it. And when I came home from school, I had to find a job. Obviously, I had graduated. My parents expected me to go find a job right away, right? My father actually wanted me to go into to work for transit because he worked for transit for as long as I can remember, and he figured like, hey, if you get a good government or city type of job, then you'll be pretty set, right? And I'm thinking to myself like, wow, I've spent all this time in college.
Yeah.
I could have done that without a college degree, right? And but like the pressure was on. I was having a hard time finding a job with the type of degree I had at the time, and I went and took a couple of city tests. Like I took a transit test. I took a test for the post office. And honestly, I never got a call back on any of those tests. And I don't know, to this day, I don't know what that was about. Like I don't know if I just did so badly on those tests. And I was like, in my mind, I'm thinking to myself, like, because I'm young and stupid and arrogant, and I'm thinking like, oh, I went to college, like I should do well on these tests, and I should get a job easily. At least I figured I could get a job to hold me over until I figure something else out, right?
Yeah.
But I never got a call back on any of those tests that I took for the city jobs, And so that was kind of discouraging. So I wound up working a lot of temp jobs. Like, I mean, really, really like menial type of, and I shouldn't say menial, but like not what I expected, like I was getting sent to do stuff like data entry, clerk type of stuff, and really, really like entry level stuff, man. And I think I was just naive and arrogant at the time. Like I said, I'm thinking like if you have a degree, then you should automatically get a great job. Like I should get right away. They should put me in the
Absolutely.
executive,
Yes.
put me in the corner office. I just went to college, right?
Hmm.
But
Not
it
knowing that they got a sandwich board for you. You know what I'm saying? Like, yo, we want so you go to those, back in the day, you'd go to the unemployment office or something, and you'd be like, yo, but they'd look at your resume, they see how qualified you are for everything that they're not offering, and they'd be like, yo, we got this sandwich board menu in front of Catch Diner, son. You want it or not? But not
yeah.
to cut you off
No,
real quick
no, it's
though.
it's 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 all it's all relevant, and I'm kind of
Yeah,
I'm going a long way through the story, but
because
but
I
but
was
just to
there
give,
with you
yeah,
on a lo
yeah,
on a
just
lot
to
of this.
so
Be
so so
Mhm.
I was about to go there and tell that little story
Yeah,
too,
yeah.
because me and you went one time together to one of the agencies that would give you, get you like a temp role or something.
Mhm,
And I remember that we did pretty well on the math test because obviously, we went to Fordham Prep. We're
mhm,
good at math. But I remember I got a perfect score on their math test. And it was just
yeah,
arithmetic. Like it was nothing hard.
mhm,
So to us, that didn't mean much. But to them, it was like shocking. I remember they were calling everybody in the office. They were running around like, you got a perfect score. Did you use a calculator? Did
yeah.
you
Did you
so I,
cheat?
yeah, they asked me if I cheated on their math test, and I'm like, this is just arithmetic. It was literally just
Mhm,
addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division, right? And I'm like,
mhm,
what? And it wasn't like any big complex numbers. It was just single digit integers or whatever, however you want
yeah,
to call them.
yeah,
And I just remember thinking to myself, it was just arithmetic, and so they were shocked. So they wanted to go get me bonded and send me
yeah,
to Wall Street.
yeah,
And I remember honestly, that opportunity, I kind of blew it because I got kind of nervous and I got spooked by the idea that they wanted to send me to Wall Street because I,
yeah,
I because I did so well on this arithmetic test, right? So that was one of the opportunities I actually blew it.
mhm,
And I think part of me was nervous about going from school where I hadn't even had so much as an internship when I was in college. Like I don't know if I wanted to work, man, to be honest with you.
yeah,
I was afraid to make that transition from
yeah,
student to working. So I tried a couple of different things. Um for a little while I was actually part of like a little group of people that were trading commodities. Like I had a little bit of money
mhm,
saved up. So I took a little bit of money and pooled it together with some friends, and we had a commodities broker in Chicago, based out of Chicago in the Mercantile Exchange, and we were playing around with trading commodities, kind of like trading places, right?
yeah.
Like it's like wheat and orange juice and
Pork bellies.
pork bellies and stuff like that, right? So we thought we had a system at the time, like some it's vague now, it's kind of foggy now, but there was a guy that put us on to some system he had to kind of predict whether the markets would go up or down, and in retrospect it was ridiculous, and there's no way it could have
Mhm.
worked. But long story short, I lost all my money trying to trade commodities. The little bit of money I had, I lost all of that money.
Mhm,
um my parents were kind of, not kind of, but they were sponsoring me on my whole life. I had to find a job. So I started working a bunch of temp jobs. And then I had to figure something out because the temp jobs were just kind of, like I said, like I don't want to say that they were menial because there are people doing the type of work I was doing, and I don't want to belittle it, but
yeah,
just for like having a degree and how I felt I worked, and
mhm,
I felt like I was a fairly smart person, I should be doing something a little more meaningful. So I decided that I just figured like I would figure out what would make me money. Like what makes
mhm,
money, right? So I got a degree in legal studies. I'm not going to law school. Even though I thought about going back and taking the LSAT, but I needed something for in between time, right? So I decided to go to Chubb Institute to actually learn technology. Because I figured at the time this is something that's gonna make money. I feel like that
mhm.
was right around kind of the dot-com boom, or like the boom slash bubble of the
Yeah.
of the
Yeah, and
internet age.
this is like 90, what is this, like
Just around like 98, like
94, 95, 96, 97, 98,
no,
somewhere
this is
around
like just around 98 because we were
98?
out by then.
Yeah, 98, 98. It was close to
Yeah, this so
2000.
yeah, so this is around 98. And this is around that, like I said, like that dot-com bubble, and the technology is becoming really hot at the time, right? Like, so
Mhm.
I'm thinking to myself, this is what makes money. So let me learn a little bit of technology and maybe I could get a job that makes me some money, right? So I went to Chubb Institute. I don't even think they're around anymore, at least not in that capacity, like
Yeah,
not
I
with the
don't think that
school.
they're around, cause I actually looked. I remember some years ago, I was like, "I wonder if Chubbs," because, like how we always say, we're kinda, like, intertwined in each other's lives throughout the years, so I
Hmm.
remember I was working, I was home working,
Yeah,
and I remember coming to the, cause we lived close to each other by then, we lived very close. You had moved up to the northern part of the Bronx by then, so we were fairly close, so I would always stop by,
yeah,
and we'd be in the living room, cause that was like your bedroom.
yeah,
You know what I'm
yeah,
saying? That was
yeah,
like
yeah.
that was
Yep,
like your bedroom now, son. It was
yep.
like,
I
"Yo,
had
my
a
boy
spot on the
graduated.
couch.
My boy graduated. He's out of here." You know what I'm saying? So that we was and then we'd be listening to music, we'd be listening to whatever
Yeah,
came out new, and you talk about what's your next move gonna be, and you went to this agency and that agency. And I even remember where I was working that time. I think you came and filled out an application for like the lighting department or something there too, if I'm not mistaken.
probably because I vaguely remember you trying to help me out,
Yeah. Yeah.
and that I never got a call back on that either.
Yeah, so and then I remember you telling me like, "Yo, I'm going to Chubb." And I was like, "What's Chubb, B?"
Yeah.
And this is like the dawn, this is like really the dawn of the computer age if you think about it.
Sort of like I mean in a way like it was kind of like a boom for the technology industry, right? Because like I
Mhm.
said, this was like where the internet literally starts really taking off, right? Like
Yeah.
so you have a lot of dot com, you have companies popping up. Um And the funny thing is, just like a side story, like when I was in college, I actually was afraid of going into the computer lab, man. Like I did all my papers in college on a word processor,
Oh my
where
gosh.
where a lot of people were going to the computer lab like, to get their papers done.
Mhm.
I did everything on a word processor because I was just afraid of computers. But that's a that's a whole long story. But then and then later on, my parents got me a computer when I had graduated. They got me a computer just to make my job search easier. And that's when just computers started coming into the home. Like, everybody pretty much had a computer in the home by then.
Yeah.
And that was in the age of like dial up, AOL.
Mhm.
When you couldn't be on the phone and on the internet at the
And on
same
the internet
time
at
and
the
all that
same
stuff, right?
time, folks.
Um,
Mhm.
so and yeah, that's a whole nother story to get into. But
Mhm.
yeah, I mean, back to how I started. I went to Chubb Institute. I wound up in a tech support program. They had a couple of different types of programs and a couple of tracks you could go on. Like they had one for development, like basically programming. But I decided that I would go into technical support because I figured, hey, this is something I could do, and you know, I'll learn the basics of computers, right? Like that
Mhm.
taught everything from like hardware to operating systems, pretty much anything you would need to know to actually do support, right? So after I got out of that, I actually had to take out more loans for that, by the way. That was a
For the
funny,
Chubb.
yep, that was the crazy part. I already had outstanding student loans, right?
Mhm.
And I took out another loan to go to Chubb. So
How
now
much was the Chubb? How much was it?
it had to be like
It was like 5?
I'm vague on it. It was closer to 10, to be honest with you.
Yo,
It was something
'cause
like 8, between 8 and 10. Right. And I
yeah.
remember my parents was just like, "You sure you want to do this?" And but I had to do something, man. I was desperate by that point to
Mhm.
just do something that would make a difference, right? So I figured if I learn some technology, it'll at least get me an entry level role into
Mhm.
some place, and I'll start making some real money. So long story short, I had a friend that worked in a bank. I'm not gonna name all the places I worked
Mhm.
specifically, but I wound up working at a bank as a contractor and working at a help desk. And that's how I got my start in technology.
And what's
Um,
a contractor?
a contractor is different than a full-time employee. Like so for
Mhm.
those of you that don't know, like if you work in a corporate environment, there are people that
Mhm.
are full-time employees of that company. So let's say you
Mhm.
work for like Rants Incorporated, right? Like like
Mhm.
there'll be people that work directly for Rants Incorporated. Then
Mhm.
you might outsource or you might contract out some portion of your business. So let's
Mhm.
say in my case, it was the help desk. I worked for a contract company, not directly for Rants Incorporated or Maine Incorporated.
Yeah.
I worked for a contract company that was hired by Rants Incorporated to do
Mhm.
their technical support work or their help desk work, right?
It was
So
like some sublet type. It's like
sort
back
of,
then it was like subletting work. Like
sort
when
of.
you put it.
Yeah, like I
Mhm.
was like a consultant or a
Yeah.
contractor working for like a outside company. So
Mhm.
if anybody's ever done that type of work, you know that there's definitely a difference that you're made to feel between the full-time employees or that company and the
Mhm.
contractors that are just working there for a particular service, right? So I did that for a few years, and then I wound up leaving that bank and going to another financial institution, doing service desk or help desk work there for a little while. Then I moved up to like, floor support where I was walking around fixing people's computers basically and fixing their computer problems.
Mhm.
Eventually I got into a junior engineering role. And then I moved up from there to like just another type of another engineering role, just a step up. The rest is history. Like I've been doing something similar. Right now I'm working for another financial institution, and I'm a manager slash kind of solutions architect type of role.
Mhm.
Um, and like you were saying before, like I got my most recently, like I have a certification. I'm a
Mhm.
certified information system security professional. But over the years, I've gotten all types of other certs. Like I'm also PMP certified. Like I'm a project management professional. I was a solutions architect for AWS, Amazon Web Services, until I
Mhm.
let that expire because I
Yeah.
just couldn't keep I couldn't keep up with it, and I was just too busy to keep up with that. I'm also AI fundamentals certified, so I have an artificial intelligence certification through Microsoft, like Azure AI fundamentals, and that's just kind of like a first level, entry level certification for artificial intelligence under
Mhm.
Microsoft. Um, but but yeah, I do those certifications like one because it kind of like gives me an incentive to keep studying because I've been in this
Mhm.
industry now for about 25 years, right?
Mhm.
So there's always a discussion in the industry about whether or not certifications matter, or and I would say that obviously hands-on experience kind of beats everything, right? Like,
Mhm.
so to anybody that wants to get into technology or is in technology and wondering whether or not they should get certified, or whether or not, I think it falls in the same category sometimes as like the argument about degrees, like whether or not a
Yeah.
college degree is important, stuff like that. And the answer is always it depends. And the answer is also yes and yes, but. So when I
Mhm.
say it like that, I mean that certifications are good, but right,
Yeah.
but they're good in conjunction with hands-on experience, right? Like the more experience you can get, um, the better, right? So if you're doing that to complement your hands-on experiences, then it's really good. The other thing, and I should say, like, the other reason to get certified is if, and this is gonna sound contradictory, but sometimes if you don't have the right experience, depending on what certification it is, it shows at least that you're trying to kind of get abreast of the language and
Yes.
understand things, right? Like so the answer is always yes and or yes but, right? Like and it's really it depends. And I think
Yeah.
the same holds true, and we can get into this too later on, but this the same holds true in my mind with when they talk about college degrees, whether or not a college degree is worth it. Um
Mhm.
falls in the same bucket sometimes of when people ask me like, should I get certified in this, or are certifications worth it? It really depends. It's kind of a more nuanced answer than saying no, it doesn't matter if you have certifications, or no, it doesn't matter if you have a degree, or experience is the be all end all when it comes to getting a job or breaking into the industry or moving up in the industry even, right? So there's just a lot of nuance to that. Like I don't mean to sound wishy-washy about it, but there's always a lot of caveats and a lot of um there's a lot of aspects to it that people don't always talk about, and there's a lot of like variables, right? I should
Yeah,
say.
it's kind of a case by case
Yeah,
if you think
it's
about it,
definitely a case
because
by case.
the one similarities between what we do is that there certifications in my line of work as well,
Right.
you know? And I think it's a case by case base. There's some people that are naturally have a natural ability to perform the job, and you kind of use a certification as a supplement. So
Sure.
if you know, like it's
Right.
supplementary, so to speak. For instance, what's become big in my line of work over the past maybe 5 to 10 years is the pre and postnatal personal training for
Mm,
pregnancies and such.
right.
When I first started, there wasn't really a big thing with certifications for pre and postnatal trainers. They found that all of a sudden that it was a thing, and they developed a certification for it.
Right.
Now, you can have someone who they have a certification in pre and postnatal, but you may be the first pregnancy that they've ever worked with. And
Right.
then you may have somebody who doesn't have the certification, but they've trained like 15 pregnancies over the course of a
Right.
certain amount of time. So it's sort of similar in that, but also certifications help you with employment. Plain
Yeah.
and simple, it helps you with employment. They want to know that you're at least trying to stay on top of your field. Mhm.
Right. So that's a good point, man. And you just
Yeah,
sparked the idea in my head is that technology is a ever changing field and industry, right? Like technology is always going to some next level, or there's always something new coming out, right? So these credentials start to come out as the only way to even prove to an employer sometimes that you even know anything about a new technology that may have come out, right? Like so
yeah,
cloud technology is everywhere right now, but there was a point where cloud technology was new. In the same way that something like artificial intelligence is not, it's not exactly new to the industry, but in the way that the public knows it today, it's fairly
mhm,
new, right? So
yeah,
when something becomes new and becomes available to kind of the industry and to corporate environments and to companies, sometimes the only way to show that you know anything about it, or to prove that you know anything about it, to recruiters and to those employers that might be hiring managers and such, is to have the credential, right? Like to and the only way to get your resume looked at seriously is to have the credential. And
mhm,
then there's certain certifications that are so rigorous in the way you have to prepare and study, that they just become known in the industry as, okay, if this guy has this particular certification, I know that he must know something. So let's bring him in. Sometimes it just gives you that foot in the door, right?
gives
Like
you a
so
look.
it gives you
Mhm,
a look, right? So it looks good on the resume, it adds weight, it adds some credibility that gets you into the door. Now the rest is kind of up to you to know what you're talking about and to have that experience, to have done some practice enough to speak to things in such a way that people can understand that you know what you're doing, right? But yeah, so that's just kind of like the history on me and like what kind of qualifies me to talk at all about technology.
yeah, yeah.
That's kind of how this came about, man. It was almost like kind of desperation where I came out of school. I know I need to do something that makes me money. Um, and technology was really booming at the time. It was just like a flood of people that were going back to get some sort of credential or to find some way to get into the industry.
Yeah.
I got into that first job was like a recommendation from a friend. And the funny thing is that the person that hired me, they actually went to Fordham Prep as well. Like the
Mhm,
hiring manager, I think
yeah,
that was a lucky break for me too. Like that
mhm,
I had just finished Chubb. A friend of mine referred me, and then the person that actually hired me, he found out that I went to Fordham Prep, and he went to Fordham Prep. So that kind of gave me a good little foot in the door. So that's another example of how people ask what school you went to and all that stuff helps. Sometimes it helps you just in terms of like forming some
mhm,
sort of network, right?
yeah,
Um, and the same would hold true for like, if you get a college degree from certain schools, you never know how that's going to help you in the future. So but
yeah,
sometimes I hear these conversations about whether or not a degree is necessary, whether or not people should just go into trades, or whether or not people should just get like technical certifications actually comes up as an alternative to college degrees. And
mhm,
I feel like the argument doesn't really have enough nuance from my perspective. People don't discuss all of the variables, right?
yes,
And it's like online, people want to be right so badly that they just make a blanket statement, and it's hard to, I guess it's hard to have nuance in the comment section of a topic that
yeah,
where you just want to quickly make your argument. But there's a lot of nuance to most of these discussions, right? And technology and the certifications and degrees and stuff like that is one of those topics where there's more nuance to it than people admit, right?
yeah. And don't sleep on those trade schools. Get as much education as you can. That's what we believe in. Get as
Right.
much education as you can. Went to college, and then he basically went to a trade school.
Basically,
I went to a trade school.
I
I
had
went
to
to
double up.
college, and I went to a trade school after. And don't sleep, like these things were expensive, man. Like
Yeah, I had to double up.
my
Yeah.
school cost me like $6,000. Your school was
Yeah.
costing like 18.
Yeah.
Like people were taking out loans for these trade
Yeah. I
schools, man.
definitely had a loan to pay back
Yo,
after I was done.
son, people were on like installment plans. They was pulling people out of my class sometimes. Like, excuse me,
Yeah, yeah.
can you
I
come to the
That's it's
office,
funny.
please?
Yep, it's funny you say that because in those type of schools, they'll pull you right out like
They'll yank you right out.
in the middle of the class, or they'll call you into the office before you get to the class. They'll be like, "Hey, wait a minute, it looks like you owe you owe us for last month."
Yeah, man. They don't play that,
They
man.
won't even let you start class sometimes,
They
but
don't play that. And then they also want like the best of the best of the best. Remember like Apex Tech?
yeah.
You know, like they're not trying to send C students out into the world, man. They straight up not trying to send C students out into the world, yo.
Yeah,
So,
that's the other thing because some of these
mhm.
schools, like like a Chubb or Apex Tech, like they value their reputation in the industry.
Dogs.
So what they try to do is make sure that you are in the top, top percentage of the
Yes, man.
class before they send you out for jobs. They have
Yo.
referral programs and all that stuff, right? So, nah, you're absolutely right. I have forgotten some of that part of it too. Is that
Yo, if you're not good, the
yeah.
referrals is dry for you, bro. Like they're like, yo, here's your paper, man. You can go out on what was Apex? We don't call you. You got to make the first step. Remember, I think that was their commercial. The ball had to do the Apex Tech.
I
You know what I'm
forgot
saying?
about that, man. But yeah,
Yo,
you bringing it back. This is definitely some Gen X
son.
type of stuff too.
Yes,
Apex
man.
Tech.
Like
Yeah.
it was like survival of the fittest in these trade schools because you know what, they would provide an education. They would even provide you open houses. You know, you get an
Yeah,
open
yeah.
house,
Yep.
and like there'd be people in the open house who are like, yeah, Rance, there's an open house, Maine, there's an open house, and everybody in your class may get dressed up to go interview, and then you walk in the door, I walk in the door, and then they have like a gatekeeper there, and like the C student walks, he'd be like, whoa, 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 whoa. You wait right there. You wait right there. You know what I'm saying? Let the A
Yo,
and B students get the first pick.
I forgot about that. This is very Gen X kind of relevant
Yes.
too, because that
It's
was
kill or be killed, boy, the
because
trade
this was
schools.
yeah, the trade schools were very popular in our era. Some of them,
Hmm.
some of them were kind of sketchy, but some of them were
Yeah.
legitimate, and they would
Hmm.
legitimately get you a referral and a good job, and you could be a mechanic or a technician, an engineer, eventually, all that
Yes.
stuff, man. They have all types of programs. And I'm making that connection is interesting because I didn't quite think of it that way, but that is a very kind of generational thing too. Because
Hmm.
yeah, Gen X grew up with that as like a part of your that was one of your options, right? Like,
Yeah,
and it was a very clear option.
there was no everybody gets a trophy. They'll take your money,
Yeah.
but when it's like, yo, am I gonna get you know,
You had to do well.
Joseph's been on 5 interviews. I want to know when I'm going to get on some interviews, and they tell you, well, you better go out there and interview, son. Go out there. But I thought that we like, you thought what? I'm sorry, you thought what? You get C's, my friend. You pass with a D. So you know what I mean? Just
Yeah.
be happy for the certification and be on your way.
And
Thank you, kind sir.
and
Hmm.
that's and I guess that falls in the same category of it depends, right? Like, because when people ask
Yeah.
you a question like, is it good to do these programs? Is it good to go into the trades? Is it good? Like,
Hmm.
all of it has nuance and variables that I don't think gets discussed enough. Like, and that's what I mean, man. Like, I like I said, I see this conversation come up on the internet. I see it come up on podcasts. I see it on social media, and I
Yes.
don't think there's enough nuance, and there's not enough people with real experience with both talking. So it's funny that you and me have experience with college, we have experience with trade schools,
Yeah.
we have experience with having a hard time finding a job after all of that.
Yeah, man.
Um, so it's funny, like, yeah, you could definitely come to us for real world advice.
Yes.
'Cause I'll tell you, I'll tell you the truth about college. I'll tell you the truth about going into a trade. I'll tell you the truth about corporate environments and, contract
Yeah.
versus full time and all that stuff. Um, but yeah, I mean that's kind of the origin story. This was born out of like kind of desperation and grasping for something that's
Yeah.
gonna lead to some sort of success or some ability just for me to maintain myself on my own because
Yeah.
shout out to my parents, man. They really, they helped me a lot by just like sponsoring me until I was able
Yeah.
to get on my feet after school, man. They were really patient.
Mhm.
As patient as could be expected. There were a couple of
Yeah.
times where we got into a little, hey, you
Yeah.
graduated, now it's time for you to get, of course
Time
we
for
get
you.
those type of, flare ups every once in a while. We'd flare up, but but they were more than supportive and more than
Who
patient.
drank all that Minute Maid? Man, what I told you about sitting in this house drinking up all that Minute Maid. You're supposed to be out there getting you a job.
Yeah, yeah. It was rough. It was
You know what
it,
I
it was
mean?
rough times during,
Man,
it didn't it wasn't it didn't last like incredibly long, but that was a little rough period. Like after graduating from college, like there's a lot of expectations of a kid, like, coming out of college. Everybody expects like, okay, you graduated now, go get
yeah.
that great job that you're supposed to get. Cause that
We
was kind of
invested
like
a lot into you.
yeah, they invested a lot into me,
Mhm.
and now it's time for you to show and prove, right? And not only with your parents, but it feels like everybody's expecting some, like for you to do well, like, and there's even people that like kind of laugh at you if you don't, right?
Yeah. They treat
um
you like Calvin from McDonald's, you know what I'm
yeah,
saying?
exactly.
Like you walking down the street and then
Yeah.
and it's cool if you don't have a job or something. They like, yo, there go Maine.
Yeah.
There go college boy.
Yeah,
What's up,
exactly.
college
I
boy?
got a
Yeah.
I had a couple of people that were like, "Oh,
Yeah.
well, you graduated from college. Now you must be making you must be making X
Yeah.
amount of money." And I'm like, "Nah, I'm having some problems finding work."
Yeah.
But, it worked out. Put it
Yeah, man.
Let's put it that way. Thank goodness
Yeah.
it worked out.
Yeah. It's crazy because you were IT when IT made like house calls in the office, like office house calls, as I call it. So you know how
Yeah.
now you can get IT, and then someone's like, "Yes, I'm going to take over your computer from
Yeah.
all over." Taking over the computer when you started in IT was literally like you showing up at somebody's desk and be like, "Yo, I'm gonna take over the computer, slide over," and then you get,
You're absolutely right.
yo,
It's funny how far this goes back
yo,
because
literally made desk house calls,
You're
yo.
you're absolutely right
Mhm.
because like in the time that I was working when I first started working in support, it started out with us trying to like walk a user through what they're supposed to do, right? Like everything from a
Mhm.
password reset, to you name it, like whatever problem
Yeah.
they were having with a program on the computer, we would start out by trying to just troubleshoot that over the phone by just talking through it,
Mhm.
you're right, it was almost like you had to envision what they were saying.
Yeah.
Man, and it was
Yeah.
it was a lot it was a lot harder. So if you couldn't help them, then you would dispatch, a technician to go to their desk,
Yeah.
right? And then I'm also, old enough to remember when you were able to remote into their computer, right? Like when that
Mhm.
started, I remember kind of that era of like, oh, we can remote in now, like, and that
Yeah.
was like a big deal because not only was it about the technical ability to remote into somebody's computer, but it was almost like a issue of whether or not you should be able to do that, given like some people working on sensitive
Yeah.
documents, or so you had to consider all these things before they could just give us permission to actually remote into a user's computer. You had to
Mhm.
consider whether or not this was something that you should be doing for privacy concerns and for the data protection and all that stuff, right? So a
Mhm.
lot of thought went into that, believe it or not. Something that we take for granted now, a lot of thought went into the beginnings of that, right? Like whether or not that was something you should even be doing.
Mhm.
But you're right. Like it makes me feel old,
Yes, sir.
but that's the era. I'm from the era like of even like the Nextel phones we had back
The
then.
chirps,
Like
the
we went
yeah,
through like
that's a
the pager. We went from pager, for the
mhm.
the pager technician. You had the Nextel after the pager, and the chirp, like where it's almost
Yes.
like the walkie-talkie, right?
Mhm.
So I'm old enough to remember all of that stuff, and even like the pager system, like where if there was an outage or something, everybody would get a page on their pager that there's some outage in the system. um so all the way from that to like now, everybody gets an iPhone or some sort of Google phone or something, or a Samsung.
Yeah,
um
man.
but yeah, I remember that era. Like I don't even know how people were able to do support in that type of
Yo, it
era. It
was
feels so ancient.
you
It
went
feels
from Lotus
ancient.
Notes. You went from
Yeah, I
Lotus
remember
Notes.
Lotus Notes. I remember like
Yeah.
setting up. That was one of my jobs, was to set up what they call remote notes, and that's back
Uh-huh.
when you could work remotely, but you had to do it over a dial-up connection. So Lotus Notes required all this configuration in order to set up the dial-up connection on somebody's laptop. It all feels really ancient, man. Like especially the concept of a dial-up connection to get to the internet. Like you said, you couldn't use your phone and the internet at the same time.
Yeah.
I go back that far with technology. I've seen a lot of things evolve. Even the idea of like cloud technology, like where You used to have to order servers to go into your own private data center, and now you can actually leverage cloud technology from Amazon Web Services or from Google Cloud or Azure through Microsoft. Used to take months to order servers for a data center, and now
Hmm.
if you have a contract with one of these cloud providers, within moments you can get servers spun up for you. So yeah, man, it feels like I think we like a lot of like I said, we take these things for granted because they're so familiar to us now. But
Hmm.
when you think about where the industry was and where it is now, um, it's pretty amazing, right? And I don't sometimes when you forget how amazing things are now. Um,
Yeah.
in a lot of ways, like there's a lot of technology like that that's taken leaps and bounds. Even the internet itself and the way we connect to the internet, the fact that you and I can talk on this internet connection and have a podcast and broadcast it out to all the different podcast services via RSS feed and all that stuff
Hmm.
is amazing to me as well. Stuff that we were doing during COVID, everybody was working from home pretty much, and leveraging the internet in ways that they probably didn't imagine prior, right? Like all the WebEx meetings and Zoom calls and Teams meetings. I don't think people would have thought that we could do it at that scale or even
Yeah.
consider that it would ever need to be done at that scale, right? So yeah, all of the technology is still pretty amazing to me. Like at least when I take time to think about it, and I think about like where it's gone since I started in the industry. So it's
It's
pretty
crazy.
amazing.
You know what? Something crazy I looked up because I wanted to know when the first email,
Hmm.
right? Because emails didn't really become popular until when do you think that emails became popular? It was
Uh
I
that's an
don't
interesting
remember using
question.
emails until like 90s, 2000s. I don't
Yeah, they
remember.
because I remember like some people were like the really kind of people that were ahead of the curve. I was about to say nerdy, but
Hmm.
but there were like students that were kind of ahead of their time. Like because I remember going the couple of times I did go into the computer lab in school, there
Hmm.
were kids that were sending emails, right? But it was very
Yeah.
excuse me, it was very few people that had the capability. Very few people had personal computers in their home. Very few people were using email at the time, even at work. It wasn't really used across the board. So in the
Yes.
'90s, it was available, but it was kind of in a limited fashion, right?
Yeah.
Um,
And the first email, 1971.
that was the first email way back
The
in
first
1971. That's
was
amazing.
1971, man. The
That's
first
amazing.
email was sent. That bugged me out because then you don't it doesn't get popular for like another 25, 30 years. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying? So the fact that the first email was sent in like 1971 is crazy, man. And then
yeah,
now for technology to take that long to catch, but now it seems like something catches every 30 seconds or 30
right,
days instead of every
right.
30 years.
And
Mhm.
it took that long to catch, and now we become completely dependent on it, right? Like I
Mhm.
can't even imagine a world without email
Without an email.
or
Mhm.
without the ability to send even a text. Remember two-way pagers and stuff like that
Yes.
was very it was just very innovative and it felt almost space age at
It
the
was like the
time, right?
Jetsons. Everything was
Yeah.
like the Jetsons,
Yeah,
you
just the
know?
ability to send messages to each other, using this device and just typing in the messages, pressing send,
Mhm.
um and it would beam to your friend really quick. That felt really, like you said, it felt like the Jetsons. It felt space age. And now look at us, we are literally able to talk to each other like the Jetsons, or using cameras and big
And
screens,
watches and,
using watches. Yeah, like we Dick
it's
Tracy in it. Like,
crazy. Yes.
yeah, we're doing Dick Tracy stuff, like talking to each other through watches and screens. It's pretty amazing, man. And I feel I feel like this was all predicted though. Like you said,
Mhm.
it's funny that you said that the first email was sent in 1971. I recently saw a video of an episode of Super Friends, Superman and all that stuff. And Super Friends, that's like from, I don't know if that's the 60s or the 70s exactly, but
I think it was late 60s and 70s, and then we started really watching it. Like, we were pretty much watching, like, reruns of a lot of the Scooby
right,
Doo's and
right.
so, like,
And
when
then
we came up in the '80s and late '70s, we were watching, like, secondhand versions of the originals
right.
type
And
thing.
and
Mhm.
and But the reason I bring that up is I recently saw a video of an episode of the Super Friends where there was a professor that was developing a supercomputer that would be able to do everybody's work for them while they just relax and just hang out, and even it would even show them movies with virtual versions of their favorite stars, or they'd be able to see virtual versions of their favorite sports athletes, right?
Mhm.
And I remember like Superman and the Super Friends were warning this guy that people still need to have a purpose and people need to work. And this was a long time. I couldn't believe it, man. This was so long ago. I'm like,
20
wait a minute.
years.
They basically predicted artificial intelligence
Mhm.
way back in the like 60s and 70s with the Super Friends. So yeah, that I gotta. I'm gonna look up that specific episode, but this is how long that idea has been around. Like these ideas that people have today about artificial intelligence kind of taking over work, especially knowledge work, and
Mhm.
then kind of making it so we have more leisure time. I didn't realize that that idea has been around for that long.
Yeah.
Before we were born, basically, people were devising that, right? So it's an interesting thing to see it come kind of full circle in our lifetime.
I kinda have a two-part question for you this one now.
Shoot.
So, first of all, why do you feel like computer literacy is so important, especially in this day and age? And what misconceptions are there about technology that you feel you can clear up for our listeners out there?
That's an interesting one. So the first one, computer literacy,
Those
and
are good, right? Those are good, right?
yeah, pretty good. Definitely good questions, man. And I feel
Mhm.
like computer literacy is one of those that's easy to answer, and it's
Yeah.
because technology and computers are pretty much running most of what we do in our daily lives, right? Like there's
Mhm.
computers in the car, there's computers when you go to McDonald's now. Instead of like, sometimes when you're on a road trip or something, instead of interacting directly with a cashier now, you might notice that there's a big screen kiosk that you could order your McDonald's meal from, right?
Oh, and side note, real quick, not to cut you off.
Good.
McDonald's was the first to implement paying by credit card in the fast
Really?
food industry. Yes, in the fast
Really?
food
That's a good
industry.
one.
Yes, yes.
Interesting, interesting.
Uh-huh. McDonald's was the first to start accepting credit cards as like
It's f
at the fast
Yeah.
food spots.
It's
Yeah.
funny you mention that because I remember when people thought paying for fast food via credit card or paying for any little item via credit card was just a ridiculous idea at the time,
Yes.
and now
Mhm.
look at us, we pay for everything with a card.
Mhm.
Um, but yeah, back to what your question, like, I feel like, the bottom line is that computers are pretty much everywhere, and they're so ubiquitous that they're part of almost every aspect of what you do, right? Like even in your field, like like technology has made probably your job easier in some ways where you could probably, instead of going to somebody's house every time to train them or having them meet you at a gym or whatever the case may be, I'm sure there's times where you could train somebody virtually, right?
Yeah, I have virtual
Um
clients. It saved a lot of us during the pandemic, as a matter of
Right.
fact, you know?
Right.
Mhm.
So when you think about it, the easy answer to your first question about why computer literacy is so important is because it's pretty ubiquitous, right? Like anything you want to do either involves a computer, can be made easier using a computer, or just outright requires a computer, right? So
Mhm.
any work you're doing in terms of knowledge work, like a computer is necessary nowadays. We talked about how work was back when we first came out of school. There was a time where I was applying for jobs like even at a mailroom because I was just trying to get any type of role, trying to get my foot in the door in a company. And now to work in the mailroom requires that you have some computer literacy. Even with the kids in school now, the kids have access to iPads from a very early age in elementary school. You get an iPad or you get a Chromebook. Um,
Mhm. My
so
daughter brings no textbooks home. Everything is like all the work, everything is like
everything is getting sent to you with
yes.
on the computer, right? Like so, even
Mhm.
their grades now, they don't even get like paper report cards anymore. You going into a computer system that you can see their grades, right? Even if they do
Yeah.
send you the paper, it's also available via some system, right?
And that they have the what is it? The iReady? The iReady, I think it's
Yeah,
called like iReady system. Mhm. Yeah,
and
man.
there's numerous systems depending on what you're trying to accomplish. There's numerous systems. There's one for lunch. There's one for
Mhm.
their grades. There's one for their standardized testing and all that stuff. When you talk about healthcare, you want to talk to your doctor. Now you can use your My Chart, right? Like you can go into
Mhm.
the system, log in, and now you can see all your vitals and all the stuff, all your appointments, everything's coming up in the computer, right? Like, so
Mhm.
wherever you work, whatever you're trying to accomplish is going to require now technology. There's no way around it. Even paying for things, you're going to use your phone to make a, some sort of easy payment or whatever, like tap and
Mhm.
pay. Your easy pass system when you're driving. Everything is going to require, if you want to pay bills, everything's made easier or requires that you be able to use a computer, right? So
Mhm.
the world has just become so technologically dependent that I don't think you're not going to have an easy time if you don't kind of go with that flow. Good part about that is that the generation that's coming up is growing up with that. So I don't see that as a problem for them. Like when it comes to computer literacy, I actually feel like that's kind of an old term, right? It's a very Gen X term too, right? Like
Yes.
computer literate
Yeah.
is something that I think our generation will be the last ones to have to worry about computer literacy, right? Like, so it's not going to
Mhm.
be so much literacy as proficiency, right? Like, because
Mhm.
our generation kind of is the last one to grow up without without the computer as part of our daily lives as children. We are, of course, had to make the adjustment, and I think Gen X has done a great job in making the adjustment for the most part, from what
Mhm.
I can observe. But we're the last generation to grow up without computers being part of our lives, from the time that we were children.
Yeah.
It's not even about literacy anymore; it's more about proficiency, and I think that's the important part. If there's any, and the second question you asked me about, like, can you repeat it one more time?
Are
Because I
there any misconceptions about technology? Things that you hear people say that you're just like, "That's ridiculous. Doesn't happen like that."
I
You
don't
know?
I don't know. So
Mhm.
so not so much ridiculous, and that's a
Mhm.
really good, that's another good question because another kind of result of the ease of information sharing and the ease of providing your opinion is that a lot of people are talking about technology without a whole lot of direct experience or without a lot of insider knowledge. People are kind of observing from the outside looking in, and they're coming to conclusions, and I don't think it's ridiculous. I just think it's like I said, a result of kind of looking from the outside in. Obviously artificial intelligence is a big one, right? A lot of times what I hear about artificial intelligence is that it's bad. And this is a long and nuanced conversation, and I'm not going to go on forever about
We've
this, but
had this conversation numerous
yeah,
times of
and
yeah, mhm,
we've had this conversation. We probably had
yeah,
it one time on this podcast, even like
yeah,
I and
mhm,
but one of the things is that I want to say about it is probably, and I'm not the only one to say this, obviously, but the technology itself, and when it comes to artificial intelligence, it's the technology is neither good nor bad, right? It's
mhm,
about the intention of the person that is using it. It's about the intentions of those people that are in control of some of these systems that we are exposed to. And then it's about the intentions of you as a person that is being exposed to it. But the technology itself is kind of neutral, right? Like it's almost like any other tool, right? A tool could be used for good or bad.
mhm.
The tool itself is neither good nor bad. It's just about how you use it, right?
A
And
hammer can build a house or crack a skull.
yeah, I guess. Yeah, I guess if you put it that way, it's true. Like it's the use of it that makes it either good or bad, right? Because
Mhm,
when we talk about artificial intelligence, for instance, you see a lot of garbage out there where there's a lot of misinformation that's being spread with artificial intelligence. Like there's a lot of deep fakes you're seeing now where people are actually using images of certain demographics of people and
mhm,
using that to spread propaganda about that particular demographic, right?
mhm,
Um, and it's unfortunate because in technology, there's still an imbalance of the type of people that wind up becoming like developers, and there's an imbalance in the type of people that actually become like the heads of big companies that are in control of big data centers and large numbers of very experienced programmers, right? But the misconception here is also that it's more difficult than it is to enter into this, right? Because I feel like and we talked about this before too, like just like there's what I like to call a democratization of things lately, right? Because
mhm,
companies are so eager for everybody to learn their technology that they're making a lot of the tools free to learn. So if you go online and you're looking for free resources to learn cloud technology or to learn artificial intelligence technology, a lot of the big companies that come to mind right away are like Amazon Web Services, if you want to learn cloud and artificial intelligence. Azure through Microsoft has Azure is Microsoft's cloud technology, but they also offer free courses on artificial intelligence as well as cloud, right? Um, Google definitely has a host of free courses that they want to provide. And also IBM has a bunch of courses. And even universities, like you can go and like take a course with MIT. And I don't know if it's free outright, but there's a lot of like programs that you can get on and take the same classes that they're taking at MIT, or even Harvard has some online and stuff like that, right? So there's Ivy League schools and there's companies that want you to learn this technology. So I think the other misconception is that there's so much a barrier to entry that is more difficult to get started.
Yeah.
'Cause we talked about my origin, right? Like when we talk about Chubb Institute and we talk about like how I needed a referral to get that first job and all that stuff.
Mhm.
But nowadays it's not. Now, I'm not gonna say it's easy to get into the industry as an entry level, but the learning is much easier. Like I couldn't just go on Google and learn all about, any technology when I was first coming into the industry. Right? You had to go and buy the computer-based training, like the CBT nuggets. You had
Mm.
to buy it, or somebody had to give you a bootleg copy of
That
the
C
CD.
plus book.
Yeah, the
The C plus.
not yeah, it's the A plus for hardware
Uh-huh.
and Novell networking and all that stuff. You had to either know somebody that had the copies of the CDs, or
Mhm.
you had to buy that stuff outright, right? So
Mhm.
so now the information is so readily available that there's not really a barrier to entry. I'm not saying that it's easy, like I said, to get into the industry, but there's way less of a barrier to entry if you're willing to put in the time and the work. And that goes for anybody, that if you're looking to break into the industry, if you're looking to move up in the industry, if you're looking for some sort of entry level role, there's really no barrier to you getting started in terms of learning, right?
Yeah.
Everybody can learn this stuff. It's just a matter of time and patience and putting in the work now, right? There's
Yeah.
no barriers.
You still have to actually do the work
Yeah.
because it's so readily available. There's really no excuse to go searching for it. Like you have YouTube. You look, we're on here talking about you're giving resources on a podcast, bro. Do you know what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Like this in our time, and I sound real old when I said that, right? In our time, I said in our time.
In our time.
In our time, you didn't have these resources.
Yeah, you didn't have
trade
YouTube.
schools. You didn't have
Right.
YouTube. You
You
didn't
couldn't
have.
Google, you couldn't just Google stuff. You couldn't go to AI and
Yes.
tell AI to explain all these things to you.
Mhm.
So now more than ever, there are resources out there that are free tools for the most part. Even like I said, like even Amazon Web Services, Amazon offers free courses where you can learn their cloud technology.
Yeah.
So does Google, and so does Microsoft. We didn't have that back then. You had to pay for every little bit of
Everything,
information. You
bro.
either, like I said, you either had to pay for it yourself or hope that somebody had like a recent copy of a CD.
Somebody Napstered
Yeah, somebody
uh.
somebody had to give you pirated copies of information,
Mhm.
but it wasn't easy to just download information or just stream a video and learn everything there is to know about a particular topic like you can today. And there's all types of folks on YouTube that are willing to record themselves practicing things and teaching things that I just couldn't imagine when I first got into the industry. And it's really just a matter of starting from the very beginning. Like, be honest with yourself. And if you don't know something, it's easy to look up, right? Like you have the collected knowledge of of the world throughout all history available to you through your
Yes.
smartphone nowadays. And if you have if you got your laptop or you have your iPad or your tablet,
Mhm.
and an internet connection, you pretty much have access to the world's knowledge for all of history, all of
Mhm.
recorded history, right?
What you have in your hand and what you keep and you throw in your backpack and you keep in your the coat pocket used to be able to only fit in a room the size of like a warehouse.
Yep. Yeah, that's the other thing about technology. Like when I first started learning
That's
tech, you
crazy.
remember in school, like all everything was on a floppy, or they
Yo,
even
the
yeah,
Tandies, I remember in elementary school, they got us some Tandies with them floppy disk.
yeah,
It was just like just one little unit. They looked like, I don't even know what they look like. These little screens and yellow greenish screens and the block movement,
right.
you know. And now you have supercomputers. We're walking around.
Yeah, you're walking
Everyone's
around with a
walking around with a
supercomputer.
supercomputer.
Yeah,
You know.
and that's the thing that I really sometimes want to drive that point home, but I don't know how to
Mhm.
deliver that message to enough people. I do it too, so I'm not. This is not a judgment call, but like I feel like we're misusing technology in that way.
Yes.
That's one thing I want to put out there is that I feel like with as powerful as these things are, like our phones and our internet connections and our ability to communicate with each other, like in at light speed, literally, I
Mhm.
feel like sometimes we're like wasting we're wasting this superpower to like argue with each other online and to worship celebrities and shop
Mhm.
for things that we don't need
Yeah.
instead of filling our heads with all of this free information that you just couldn't get
Trying to develop
X
new
amount of
power
years ago.
sources and stuff, and we're worried about the latest divorce
Y-
of
yeah, exactly.
yeah, man.
Yeah, so that's another point that I like. Like I said, I'm not judging because I'm subject to the same thing. Like I need the
Mhm.
dopamine hit from Instagram and all that stuff.
Yes.
But if I could deliver one message is that that same phone that you're using to scroll through your social media could be used to absorb and look up anything in this world that you would want to know. That's the message I try to give to my own kids is like, you know, instead of playing that game, you could be looking something up real quick or look, all the questions you ask me are also available on that
Yeah.
same device.
Well, we used to have to get the encyclopedia or the dictionary. You know, you could just
Man,
press a button, man. We'd have
yeah,
to
you
go
had
look
to
through tomes.
yeah, man, you had to hope that a neighbor had an encyclopedia where I was from. Like
Encyclopedia
you
set.
we
Most of them were missing letters. Like they went from
yeah.
like A to K,
Yeah,
and then
nobody
they
had a
they
whole
went
set.
to from L to M, and
Yeah, I
maybe
didn't know
somebody had to,
anybody that had a whole set.
so
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, like I said, like I'm nobody to judge, but like that's the one thing. If I could deliver any message, it's that one that you have available to you all the information you want, and it's just a matter of like being discerning too about all this information that we get. You have to be able to kind of cross reference it, use your common sense, and because it's a double edged sword too. When I talk about the information that you get, and make sure you're getting like quality information and you're cross referencing it with sources that you feel are credible. But when it comes to to this industry though, when it comes to the technology itself, there's a lot of good resources that you could use to learn whatever it is you want.
use technology wisely, my friend.
Yeah.
What do you want to use technology for? Is it good or is it bad? It depends on if you're good or if you're bad.
Well, and the other
You
thing,
know what I mean?
and when I say that, like there's also to be considered. When we say is it good or bad, like there's a lot of people in control of what we're
Mhm.
viewing and what's available to us as well. And that's
Yeah.
what I mean too. Is it's not just a matter of the user's intention, but there is something to be said about kind of being aware that there's folks in charge of all this technology that we're receiving that we didn't really have a say in, right? Like we didn't vote
Mhm.
on the way Instagram works or the way Facebook makes changes to its security settings
Mhm.
or what Amazon does to adjust pricing based on your shopping habits. Like we don't we didn't vote on these things because there's a lot of things being presented that like I said we're not in control of all of it, right? So
Right.
you could do what you can know to kind of just be aware of it. Just be aware that there's a reason why you might be getting like your algorithm is feeding you certain things on your social media. There's a reason why the pricing might adjust a little bit on when you're ordering something from Amazon or from Walmart or from Target. That
Yeah.
pricing might be adjusting based on your habits, right?
Mhm.
There's a reason why you get an email. You talk about something with a friend or with your spouse or with your children, and then all of a sudden you're getting advertisements for that thing that you were just talking about, right?
Yes.
So that's what I mean too. Like there's good and bad, and a lot of times you're not in control about of whether or not it's being used for good or bad. But it's not that the technology in and of itself is bad or good. It's about the intention of some of the folks that are in control of it.
Did you ever have any of those funny stories? You know how you hear the text talking about somebody was talking about they had a problem with their computer and they just didn't turn it on, the power on.
Yeah.
You did
Yeah, so I've had that happen. I've
funny
had that
text
happen.
stories?
I've had that happen with I'm not gonna say who, but I've had
Yeah.
that happen with family members. That specific one, like where it's
Uh-huh.
like, oh well, this is not on, type of
Yeah.
thing. Like where people say, oh, I can't print. Be like, oh well, your printer's not on. Like that happens all the time. Like that's a common occurrence. But
Mhm.
a couple of times, like when I was a technician, I was walking the floor and somebody had an issue where they said that their computer wouldn't come on. So I go to the desk, and this lady tells me, "Hey, I didn't feel like bringing my laptop in, so I'm just going to use the computer today." And I was just confused. And this is the exact sentence, right? I'm like, you did. So I'm completely confused. She says
Uh-huh.
she didn't feel like bringing her laptop back and forth, so she left the laptop home and she's just going to use the computer today. So
Right.
I'm like, I look at her desk and I'm like, there's no computer here, right?
Yeah.
And so I'm like, well, where's the computer? She's like, oh, it's right there. I'm just gonna use this. And then so I so she's talking about the docking station that's used to connect the laptop to her monitor, right?
Oh.
So for anybody that doesn't know, there's port replicators now that would do the same thing, but back in this time, you had to actually like kind of dock your laptop into what's called a docking station. You
Mhm.
would connect it, and basically that would connect you to your keyboard, your mouse, and your monitor, right? But you're still using the laptop. At the end of the day, the laptop is actually the computer. It
Yeah.
is the computer. So she thought the docking station that you use to connect all this stuff up was also a computer. And in my mind, I'm like, why would we give you? You think we're giving you two computers to just sit at the desk? So anyway, like that's happened to me a couple of times where people have told me that they left the laptop home and they were just going to use the computer, quote
Yeah,
unquote,
I'm just gonna use the dock.
and they didn't even know it was they don't even, they thought it was a
Uh-huh.
whole computer there, right? Like that would
Oh
be
my
kind
goodness.
of interesting,
Mhm.
but that's happened a couple of times. That's a funny one. And there's been times where people have left it, forgotten their laptop and expected me to have just a laptop ready for them to start working right away. So I've gotten that as a technician that had to work directly with end users in
Mhm.
a company. That was probably the most interesting time because you're dealing with like human error. Like a lot of
Yeah.
times you like sometimes it's a legitimate problem with the computer, but a lot of times it's like people's frustration or people's lack of knowledge about an application that they're using, or they're just being forgetful some of the time. But that's happened a couple of times. And then
Yeah.
times where people just didn't turn something on. They just didn't power it on, right? Like they would tell
Yeah.
me like, "Oh, my computer's not working," and it's like, "Oh, it's not powered on." Those are kind of the sillier things, um, which
Was
is
it you
why
that was telling me the story about the woman who was using her CD-ROM as a wine to hold her wine? Was that you? Did you tell me
nah,
that story?
man, I don't think so, man.
Yeah, someone told me,
That's a
someone someone that
nah,
I
but
know
I
that
feel like that's a. I always thought that was an urban legend because you hear that story a lot. Like people think
they
that's a cup holder.
yeah, cup
Yeah,
holder, they were
we
using
used
a
to always
CD-ROM.
hear that, like, or people think the CD-ROM is a cup holder, so they would eject it and have it
That
and
was
put their
like
cup
the
on it.
technology's alligator in the sewer system.
Yeah, I
That
always thought that was
was
some sort of urban legend because that story goes around like crazy, or at least it used to back in the days, years
uh-huh.
ago. That was a funny thing that everybody would always talk about. It's not, now that I think about it, it's really not outside the realm of possibility. Like it's possible, man. Because I've seen some people do some silly things,
Uh-huh.
and it's really just out of lack of knowledge of how a computer works and all that stuff. So I can't really blame them.
Yeah. So, there you go. Maine
Is that
origin stories, huh?
was that what this is? This is all about me and my origin story. Well, with that said, man, I'll say this, that if
Yeah.
anybody wants to know more about, like, or have a discussion about more about technology, you're gonna have to let us know, if you
Yes.
want any specifics about any particular technology
Any
or my suggestions on.
technology, any books or anything
Yeah,
that you would
because
recommend?
we talked a lot about my origins and my experiences, like, as a person working in technology and trying to get a job outside of school and all that stuff. But um maybe we should have a part two of this where we talk specifically about technology and its impacts,
Mm-hmm.
and stuff like that, because I know that there's people that might be interested in talking about like cloud technology or hearing more about what I think about artificial intelligence. We
Yes.
could certainly talk about that in another episode. But yeah, I enjoyed this conversation, man. Like I don't get a chance to talk about this origin story,
Yes.
because there's a lot of times we don't. Yeah, a lot of times we don't get a chance to talk about these things because they just don't come up. But I
Yeah.
feel like the podcast is a good way to get some of that out. Um,
Hmm.
it's like my little therapy session sometimes. But
Yes.
but yeah.
Yeah, my boy's wicked smart with the computers. So this concludes episode 22 of the Gen Expertise podcast. Now, shout out to our day 22s.
22.
Shout out to our day ones and everyone in between. And as usual, and as always, shout out to our day one. And shout out to whoever listened to us in Finland. You know what I'm saying? So we
Yeah, we found out recently that this podcast is being played in 12 countries, or it's been played in 12
in 12
countries.
countries.
One of them
So
is Finland.
shout out to the latest that we saw was Finland. So shout out to you, Finland. Um Maine and Red says salute.
Salute.
And you know what, man? You know what?
Since we are prolific.
That's right, my man. Since we are prolific, we will be back next Wednesday, right here.
Absolutely.
Same Gen X time, same Gen X place. I always wanted to say that. Power to the podcast.
Power to the podcast.
Peace.
Peace.